Lahore Grammar School, QUETTA. I'm your English teacher, Faiza Shah. Welcome, students, to new academic session of year 2021. I'm so glad that you made to grade 7. It's a great achievement. I'm very happy for you. It's going to be a great year, inshallah. We will learn many good things, many new things together, and of course, we'll have much fun. So, today, I'm covering the component comprehension. It's from your first reader, Tell Me a Story. And the first story of the reader is The Real Ugly Duckling. Do you see this man here? He is the one. This is a biography of this man here. His name is Hans Christian Andersen. The main characters: Hans Christian Andersen himself, father who was a poor cobbler, and he later died of depression in the story, which is a true story, by the way. It's a biography. Um, then Anne Marie, the mother, a simple woman who used to wash clothes for rich ladies. She's the mother of Hans Christian Andersen. Then the grandma. She's also a very poor lady, and she used to tell folk tales to Hans. Madame Shell. She's the dancer at the Royal Theatre. Then Siboni, who's a famous singer, singing teacher. So after that, there is Jonas Collins, a kind-hearted man, rich man who sent Hans to school. This is picture, the real picture of Hans' statue in Denmark. Summary of the lesson. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, it's a biography of a great Danish author. It's written by Doris Gate. Hans Christian Andersen, who is famous all over the world for his stories. He was born in Odense, Denmark on 2nd April 1805. He was the only child of a poor couple. His father was a poor cobbler, and he was not a very good cobbler, so he would not get very many clients and customers. And his mother, Anne Marie, she was a simple woman. She used to wash clothes for the rich ladies, and she would also sew some clothes for them if required. They had a humble little house. As I mentioned earlier, they're very poor. Excuse me. His parents, who loved him a lot, made him a small wooden theater, and his mother taught him to sew clothes out of scraps left over from the dressmaking of the wealthy ladies. So this is how he knew how to stitch clothes a little bit for his little dolls. And his father made him a theater, so he loved acting and writing plays out of the stories that he used to hear from his grandma. Now, as I was just mentioning, the grandma, she was also a very poor lady, as I've mentioned before, and she loved Hans. She loved Hans a lot. She used to tell him folk tales and magic tales whenever he used to visit her. Hans loved the tales and made plays from them, which he acted out with his toy actors in his toy theater. And acting became his passion. He wanted to travel to the big city of Copenhagen uh, to become an actor one day. So, in the first paragraph, as you understand, uh, not a very rich person, or didn't belong to a rich family, but he was a happy little boy. He was loved and he was taken care of. And that is why he was a confident boy. And he was confident that one day he will become a famous actor, and that might have been all right if he was talented. But unfortunately, he was not. To begin with, he was tall for his age and clumsy. His legs seemed much too long for his body. His feet were too large, and so was his nose. Indeed, he looked somewhat like the storks, which came to Denmark every spring. Do you see the stork here? He's very it's an ordinary bird, but the legs are too tall. Now, do you understand the way the story, the lesson has been described here? Uh, Background of the character, that is Hans Christian Andersen, people who are connected to him, and then now that you understand the character, uh, then I have explained then I have described the character, as in he was tall and he was clumsy, and his legs seemed much too long for his body, and his feet were too large. So this is how you describe your character. So background of the character and then describing your character. This is what you need to do when you're writing a piece of when you're writing your creative writing. Now we're starting off with the story plot. Although everyone laughed at his unusual confidence, but the laughter never seemed to discourage Hans. He was quite different from the other boys. He played with dolls and had theater, while the other boys preferred playing in streets. His mother was always supportive and loved him for who he was. When Hans was 7 years old, his father marched away to war, and he was taken out of school due to fainting spells. Once in a while, he used to visit theater, and his passion to become an actor grew. So here we're talking about how the boy is different from the other boys. He loved playing with the dolls, and he had a theater, and he loved, stitching clothes for them. So he was a different boy. After the war was over, Hans Christian's father returned home as a broken man. So war can be very ugly. It can make a perfect mind broken. So even if the man was physically perfectly fine and he came back alive, in his mind he was all broken, and that is why he later died of depression. Anne Marie had to support her son. Now, Anne Marie and her son, Hans Christian, were all on their own. And Anne Marie had to support her son and herself. So all day long, she would stand in the cold river washing clothes, and her health began to fail. Young Hans tried to help by finding work at a cloth mill and then later at a tobacco factory, but he couldn't keep the job due to the fainting spells. However, he was admired for his beautiful voice and poetry reciting. At the age of 14, Hans decided to leave Odense and seek his dream in Copenhagen. At once, he walked into the Royal Theatre to get work as an actor. So you see that his father died of depression, mother's health began to fail because she would wash clothes in the cold river. He wanted to help, but he couldn't help. Then later, at the age of 14, he decided that he really needs to get out of the small city of Odense and to seek his dream in the great city of Copenhagen. And because he used to visit theater every now and then in Odense, one of the actors there helped him to walk into the Royal Theatre to ask for work as an actor. So, and he also arranged him to meet the Royal Theatre dancer, Madame Schall. Now we're going to talk about who Madame Schall is. Now we understand that she's a Royal Theatre dancer. And with the luck of a lad in a fairy tale, it means that this boy, Hans Christian, had the luck of probably a lad in a fairy tale. Normally, people don't have that kind of luck, but for him, he walked right into the theater, Royal Theatre, and he asked for work as an actor, and later he gotten he had the chance to meet the great Royal Theatre dancer who was celebrated through Denmark, and her name was Madame Schell. He was actually escorted to her house, and there he visited her in a shabby suit, high boots, and a top hat that fell down over his face. Although Madame Schell was totally astonished to see her visitor, but she was very kind hearted. And as we know, Hans was so confident that he started telling the woman all about his dreams. And the kind hearted woman invited him to dance. Obviously, he looked so confident. So she said that, why don't you dance for me? So the tall, thin, clumsy figure started circling and leaping without any grace. Now, Madame Shell was very gentle and she was very kind, so she gently asked him to stop and patiently informed him that he had no talent for dancing whatsoever. Seems like his dancing career is quite over. But his heart was never discouraged by the hardships. He even comforted his mother by saying, "First you suffer a great deal and then you become famous." And that was what he said to his mother before leaving, because his mother was really afraid of him going all by himself to a great big city like Copenhagen. And Hans Christian did suffer a great deal, but learned that there was no hope of him becoming an actor. So he decided to stake all on his singing voice. So one day he walked up to the doorstep of a famous singing teacher named Siboni. Now, as you can see, once again, this boy is some boy out of a fairy tale, because the housekeeper, also, although she thought that he was a bold beggar and he just knocked the door and he was asking for money or food, but when she listened to his story, she went up to her master and told him all about young Hans. Siboni and his guests loved his voice. When he was invited inside to see Siboni, they asked him to sing and they loved his voice. And this promised Hans of singing lessons and food from the kind hearted Siboni. But shortly after his 15th birthday, his voice broke and he could no longer sing. Well, it is, isn't it amazing how quickly he was moving forward, but then how quickly he would just come two steps back. He would move one step ahead and then and then he would be pushed back two steps. Anyhow, he decided that since he couldn't dance and sing, he must write plays for other actors. His plays were rejected many times, and then if it caught the attention of a wealthy man named Jonas Collins. Again, this boy is so lucky that although his plays were rejected because of his knowledge, because he was not really literate, uh, but the story plot of his plays were so charismatic that it caught the attention of a wealthy man named Jonas Collins. Now, Hans Christian had almost received no schooling during his 16 years, as I've just mentioned, that he was not illiterate, and that is why his plays were being rejected. Jonas was not interested in Hans' dream. Jonas was he didn't know what his dream was, and he was not even interested in his dream. But his concern was that a boy his age need education to become a good citizen. So he sent him off to school to get proper education. The years that followed were hard ones. This tall boy had to sit with small children in the classroom, and came the day when Hans Christian completed his studies and started writing his own tales of magic and adventure. He wrote them with such grace and charm that the publisher immediately accepted them. The first fairy tale was called The Tinder Box. You must read the book The Tinder Box. It is a short story, a wonderful, beautiful story. There are many other books by by Hans Christian. It's The Little Mermaid. I'm sure you have read that or you've seen the movie. You've seen The Snow Queen. Must have read about it as well. And then there is The Emperor's New Clothes. That's a funny one. And that's how Hans Christian Andersen became so famous that his stories were translated in many languages. The King of Denmark invited him to dinner, and later he met Charles Dickens in London, and he became friends with him too. He never gave up on his dream and eventually became famous. So you see, education actually played a great role in his road to fame, isn't it? So education is very important. You need to read as in order to write a good piece of writing. And even when you're talking, you need to be charismatic, and you can only be charismatic if you are good with the words. You know how to jumble your words. You know how to play with the words. You You are done. You will be wonderful. And that is what I want from all of you. I want you all to be wonderful when you are talking and when you're writing. Okay, how well did you understand the whole story? What was Hans Christian Andersen like as a boy? What was he, when he was a little boy, what was he like? What were his interests? What was his main ambition? Which member of his family helped him the most in achieving his dream? You need to give a reason for your choice. What education did he have before he was 16 and after he was 16? Who do you think helped Hans Christian the most in Copenhagen? And the last question, what did Hans Christian Andersen look like? This is character description. Now, I have given you this, um, you have a worksheet here that you need to complete. It's character traits. You need to put your name, date there. You need to write external, that is outside traits. What do you see on the outside? What kind of person the character looks like? And then the internal traits. It means that the thought, feeling, and the action and dialogue. The character name will go there under the character's name, character's picture. Draw a picture of Hans Christian Andersen and use the whole worksheet to complete the character description of Hans Christian Andersen. I'll be looking forward to receiving your assignment, and you stay home, stay safe till we meet again at school, inshallah. Bye bye.